First contact and battle. The observation deck of the Earth vessel Endeavour offered an unparalleled view of the cosmos. Commander Elena Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, dark eyes scanning the unfamiliar star patterns. The ship had ventured farther than any human vessel before it, the first of Earth's long-range exploration fleet, equipped with the newly developed quantum drives. They were making history with every passing second. "Commander, we're detecting unusual energy signatures," Lieutenant James Cooper called from his station. His voice remained professional, but Reyes heard the underlying tension. "Source?" she asked, stepping away from the viewport. "Unknown, ma'am. Nothing in our databases matches this pattern. Definitely not natural phenomena." Reyes nodded. "Alert status yellow. All sensors at maximum range." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for first contact scenarios, but no one truly believed it would happen on their maiden voyage. The Endeavour was primarily a scientific vessel, designed to catalog potentially habitable worlds beyond the solar system. First contact had been a theoretical module in their training, nothing more. "Visual contact, Commander," called Navigation Officer Maya Patel, her fingers flying across her console. Putting it on the main display, the image that materialized on the screen brought the entire bridge to silence. Two vessels of distinctly alien design were engaged in what could only be described as combat. The larger ship was angular and predatory, covered in what appeared to be weapon ports that glowed with ominous red energy. The smaller vessel was sleeker, its hull shimmering with an iridescent blue-green material unlike any Earth alloy. "Are we seeing this correctly?" Reyes asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Confirmed, Commander," replied Communications Officer Darius Wilson. "Two vessels of unknown origin. The larger one is pursuing and firing upon the smaller." Before Reyes could issue further orders, the smaller vessel abruptly changed course, heading directly toward the Endeavour. "They've detected us," Cooper reported. "The smaller ship is on an intercept course." "Shields up," Reyes ordered. "Defensive posture only. Do not engage unless directly threatened." The approaching vessel slowed as it neared the Endeavour. Now they could see the extensive damage it had sustained. Parts of its hull were breached, and what looked like escape pods had been jettisoned. "We're receiving a transmission," Wilson announced, surprise evident in his voice. I think it's a distress signal. The computer is attempting to translate." "Put it through," Reyes commanded. The voice that emerged from the speakers was unlike anything they had heard before, musical and fluid, with harmonics that human vocal cords couldn't produce. But the universal language of desperation needed no translation. The ship's AI worked quickly, and words began to appear on the screen as the translation program identified patterns in the alien language. "Help. Diplomatic vessel. Civilians aboard. Seeking asylum." Reyes glanced back at the view screen. The larger ship was closing in rapidly, weapons still hot. "The pursuing vessel has locked weapons on both the smaller ship and us, Commander," Cooper reported grimly. Reyes had seconds to make a decision that could change the course of human history. The Endeavour wasn't built for combat. Their orders were explicit: observe, document, and avoid interference with any potential alien civilizations they might encounter. But there were beings on that ship, people, whatever they called themselves, asking for help. "How long until our reinforcements could arrive?" she asked, knowing the answer. "The nearest Earth vessel is 3 weeks away at maximum speed, Commander," Wilson replied. Reyes nodded. No help was coming. "Target the pursuing vessel's weapon systems only," she ordered. "Precision strikes. Fire when ready." The bridge fell silent again, this time with tension. "Commander, that's a direct violation of our non-interference protocols," Executive Officer Marcus Chen reminded her. "I'm aware," Reyes replied evenly. "But I'm not going to stand by and watch a massacre." Fire. The Endeavour's defense systems were limited but precise. The shots hit the pursuing vessel's main weapon ports with surprising accuracy. The alien ship seemed to hesitate, as if shocked by the unexpected interference from an unknown vessel. Evasive maneuvers, Rise ordered. Pattern Delta, and open a channel to the diplomatic vessel. The Endeavour moved with surprising agility for its size, avoiding the worst of the enemy fire, though the ship shuddered as some hits connected. Channel open, Wilson confirmed. This is Commander Elena Reyes of the Earth vessel Endeavour. We're attempting to assist. Can your ship still maneuver? After a moment, a reply came through the translator. Yes. Limited power. Gratitude beyond measure. Follow our lead, Rice continued. We're going to create a distraction. When I give the signal, make for these coordinates. She had the computer send the location of a nearby asteroid field where they might lose their pursuer. The plan was risky. The Endeavour wasn't built for combat maneuvers, but Reyes had insisted that all her crew train for worst-case scenarios. Now that training would be tested. All power to forward shields, Reyes ordered. We're going to pass directly between them. The crew looked nervous but determined as they carried out her orders. The Endeavour accelerated, heading straight toward the firefight. The enemy vessel is firing, Commander, Cooper shouted. Hold course, Reyes said calmly. The Endeavour shuddered violently as it took multiple hits. Warning lights flashed across control panels. Now, Reyes ordered as they passed between the two alien ships. Fire all weapons. The Endeavour's defensive systems fired at the pursuing vessel as they passed, causing it to veer off course. The diplomatic ship seized the opportunity, changing direction toward the coordinates Reyes had sent. Follow them in, Reyes ordered, and pray they know their way through that asteroid field better than we do. The next 20 minutes were the most intense of their mission. The Endeavour weaved through the asteroid field, taking hits both from the pursuing vessel and from space debris they couldn't avoid. The diplomatic vessel moved with greater ease, clearly more familiar with such maneuvers. We've lost them, Cooper finally announced, relief evident in his voice. The enemy vessel has broken off pursuit. Reyes allowed herself to breathe. Damage report. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, contained by emergency force fields. Minor injuries reported, no casualties. We've lost 40% of our shield capacity, and one of our 4 engines is offline, Chen reported. Could have been worse, Reyes said. Where's the diplomatic vessel? Holding position just ahead, Commander. They're hailing us. On the view screen appeared a being unlike anything they had seen before. Tall and slender with skin that shimmered with colors that seemed to flow like oil on water. Its eyes were large with multiple pupils that adjusted independently. We are the Alturian Diplomatic Corps, the translator conveyed. I am Ambassador Thelian. You have saved our lives and potentially prevented an interstellar incident. We are deeply grateful. Reyes nodded respectfully. We're glad we could help. Those who attacked you. Dravari warriors, the ambassador supplied. A species waging aggressive expansion through this sector. They have been attacking our outposts and civilian transports without provocation for nearly 2 cycles of your sun. You know of Earth? Reyes asked, exchanging glances with her officers. Yes, Thelian replied. We have observed your world from afar, but had not planned first contact for another decade, when your technology had further matured. Reyes couldn't help but smile. Sometimes plans change. It seems we have much to discuss, Ambassador. Indeed, Thelian agreed, perhaps starting with repairs to your vessel. Our engineers can assist. And then there is much we must discuss about the Dravari. The Galactic Alliance is at war, Commander Reyes, and your species has just joined it by your actions today. Reyes looked around at her crew, at the damaged ship that had been meant for peaceful exploration, and at the strange new ally on the screen. In a single day, everything had changed for humanity. Well, she said simply, I guess we better make the most of it. 6 months had passed since humanity's unexpected entry into galactic affairs. The large meeting room aboard the Alturian command ship Eternal Light buzzed with tension. At one end of the long table sat Admiral Wyjon, recently appointed commander of Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet. His weathered face showed the strain of recent weeks. Across from him, High Commander Vorel of the Alturian fleet gestured with four-fingered hands at the holographic display between them. His translucent skin pulsed with agitation. "Your plan lacks conventional wisdom and respect for established doctrine," Vorel said, his translator rendering his musical tones into precise English. "The Fifth Fleet must maintain position at the Rigel corridor. It is the proper defensive stance." Zhang pushed back his chair. "With all due respect, High Commander, fighting this war according to your ancient tactical manuals is exactly why you're losing." The room fell silent. The other alien commanders shifted uncomfortably. No one spoke to Vorel this way. "Admiral Zhang," said a smaller Alturian with feathery appendages that quivered with each word, "perhaps you do not understand. The Rigel corridor is strategically vital. All our models indicate." "Your models are exactly what the Draveri expect," Zhang interrupted. He stood and walked to the large star map. "They've studied your tactics for decades. They know you'll defend Rigel because that's what your ancient battle plans tell you to do. But look here." He pointed to a seemingly empty sector. "If we position our faster ships here instead, we can catch their supply lines completely unprotected." Vorel's skin darkened. "You suggest we abandon a critical defensive position to attack cargo ships?" "I suggest we stop fighting the war they expect us to fight," Zhang replied. "The Draveri don't care about your rules of engagement. They care about winning." The argument continued for hours. In the end, Zhang left frustrated. The Alturian commanders agreed to consider his suggestions, which he knew meant they would politely ignore them. In another part of the massive Alliance vessel, Dr. Sarah Henderson was causing an equal amount of disruption. The engineering bay was filled with equipment from a dozen different worlds. Henderson stood by a large holographic display, sleeves rolled up, pointing at a modified ship design. "The problem isn't your weapon yield," she explained to the gathered Alliance engineers. "It's your entire approach to combat. You're building perfect battleships when what you need are swarms of smaller craft." Chief Engineer Kelvin, a crystalline being whose body refracted light in rainbow patterns, clicked its appendages in disagreement. "Our capital ships are the pinnacle of defensive technology. Each is a perfect balance of offensive and defensive capabilities. And they're being picked apart by Draveri hunter groups," Henderson countered. "Look, what if we converted some of your cargo transports? They have the space. We could fit each one with 30 to 40 small fighter craft." "Fighter craft?" Kelvin asked, the translator struggling with the concept. "Small, 1- or 2-person vessels, fast, maneuverable, and armed just enough to do damage to specific targets." Henderson quickly sketched a design on her tablet. "We've used similar tactics in our own planetary conflicts." "You propose to send individuals into battle in such tiny vessels?" another engineer asked, clearly horrified. "The casualty rates would be lower than what you're experiencing now," Henderson replied. "These fighters could protect your capital ships from the small Draveri attack craft that have been causing so much damage." The engineers exchanged glances. The idea was so foreign to their way of thinking that they struggled to evaluate it. "It would take months to design and build such vessels," Kelvin finally said. Henderson smiled. "Not if we modify existing shuttles. I could have a prototype ready in 2 weeks." The Alliance engineers reluctantly agreed to allow Henderson and her human team to proceed with what they called the Henderson conversion. They didn't expect much to come from it. The following weeks saw more human innovations integrated into the Alliance's war effort. While the Alturians and their allies had advanced technology, they lacked the tactical flexibility and adaptability that humans brought to the battlefield. The Alliance had been fighting a war of attrition, matching strength against strength. Humans showed them how to fight asymmetrically, targeting weaknesses and avoiding head-on confrontations where they were outmatched. Commander Reyes, now serving as Earth's diplomatic representative to the Alliance Council, worked tirelessly to convince the diverse alien species that humanity deserved a voice in strategic planning despite their technological inferiority. The rescue of Ambassador Thelian had earned humans' goodwill, but translating that into actual influence proved challenging. "Your species has barely mastered interstellar travel," one council member observed dismissively during a heated debate. "How can you presume to advise civilizations with millennia of spacefaring experience?" "Perhaps that's exactly why you should listen to us," Rice countered. "We bring fresh perspectives, unbound by traditions that may have outlived their usefulness." The Alliance reluctantly began incorporating human tactical suggestions into their battle plans. The results spoke for themselves. For the first time since the war began, the Draveri expansion slowed. The human factor. Dr. Nathan Chen didn't look like someone who could change the course of a galactic war. His slight frame was usually hunched over a console or a sample, his wire-rimmed glasses perched precariously on his nose as he worked. But for the past 3 months, he had been obsessed with understanding the Draveri. The laboratory aboard the Alliance science vessel Truth Seeker was vast and filled with equipment Chen was still learning to use. He sat surrounded by data screens showing Draveri attack patterns from dozens of battles. "You've been at this for 20 hours straight," said Lieutenant Diana Rodriguez as she entered with 2 steaming cups. "Even brilliant scientists need sleep." Chen smiled tiredly and accepted the drink. "Sleep can wait. I'm seeing something here, Diana. Something no one else has noticed." Rodriguez pulled up a chair. Unlike Chen, she looked every bit the military officer, tall, fit, with sharp eyes that missed little. Her role as military liaison to the science team had unexpectedly turned into a partnership with Chen. "Show me," she said simply. Chen pulled up footage from 3 separate battles. "Watch the Draveri formations. See how they move. It's not just tactical. There's something biological about it." Rodriguez studied the screen. The Draveri ships moved in patterns that seemed oddly familiar, though she couldn't place why. "It reminds me of something, but I can't put my finger on it." "Insects," Chen said. "Specifically, eusocial insects like ants or termites. They're not just fighting us as individual ships. They're behaving like a colony." Rodriguez's expression changed as she saw it too. The way the Draveri ships would coordinate without apparent communication, how they would sacrifice individual vessels unhesitatingly for the good of the whole, the emergent intelligence in their formations. "They're acting as a superorganism," she said slowly. Chen nodded eagerly. "Exactly. The Alliance has been fighting them like they're an enemy army, but they're behaving like a hive. And that means they have instincts and biological imperatives we can exploit." For the next week, Chen and Rodriguez worked together, analyzing every piece of footage and data on Draveri behavior. They brought in other human scientists and military strategists, forming a small team focused on this new approach. When they finally presented their findings to the Alliance Science Council, the reception was cold. "You claim to understand an alien species better than we do after only months of contact?" asked Chief Scientist Melovar, his bioluminescent tentacles pulsing with skepticism. "We have studied the Draveri since they first appeared. They are warriors, not insects." Chen stood his ground. "With respect, that assumption may be why you haven't found an effective way to counter them. We're not saying they're just insects. We're saying they have biological imperatives that influence their tactical decisions. What Dr. Chen has identified," Rodriguez added, "is that Draveri follow specific colony patterns that can be predicted and manipulated." The council members exchanged glances. Most seemed skeptical, but Ambassador Thelian, who had joined the meeting out of interest, leaned forward. "What do you propose?" Chen brought up a new display. "A trap, but not a military one as you might design it. A trap that appeals to their colonial instincts." His plan was bold. Instead of positioning fleets for maximum defensive coverage, he proposed creating an apparent vulnerability, a gap that would be irresistible to the Draveri hive mind. "You want us to deliberately weaken our defenses?" one council member asked, clearly alarmed. "We want you to appear weak in one specific area," Rodriguez clarified, "while being very strong in ways the Draveri won't expect until it's too late." After hours of debate, the Council remained unconvinced. It was only after another devastating Alliance defeat at the Sirius Nexus that High Commander Vorel finally agreed to try Chen's approach. The Proxima Centauri system was chosen for the test. It contained valuable mining operations but few civilian populations. The Alliance fleet positioned itself with an obvious gap in its defenses, leaving a clear path to the system's inner planets. Behind this gap, hidden in the sensor shadow of a large gas giant, waited a fleet of Henderson's converted fighters and several new vessels equipped with weapons designed specifically to disrupt the Draveri hive communication, a technology Chen had helped develop based on his understanding of their biology. Chen and Rodriguez watched from the command center of the lead vessel as Operation Blind Spot unfolded. Admiral Zhang stood nearby, his face impassive but his eyes alert. "The Draveri fleet has entered the system," reported a sensor officer. "They're moving exactly as Dr. Chen predicted." On the tactical display, they watched as the massive Draveri fleet detected the apparent weakness in the Alliance defenses. Like a colony of ants finding an unguarded food source, they changed course as one, converging on the vulnerability. Now, Zhang ordered as the Draveri committed fully to their attack vector. From behind the gas giant emerged the hidden Alliance forces, but instead of engaging in traditional combat, they deployed Chen's disruption devices, specialized probes that emitted frequencies targeted to interfere with the Draveri's neural network. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The perfectly coordinated Draveri formation dissolved into chaos. Individual ships began moving erratically, some firing on each other, others freezing in place. "It's working," Chen whispered, hardly believing his eyes despite having predicted this outcome. "We've disrupted their hive connection." Henderson's fighters swarmed into action, targeting the confused Draveri vessels with precision. Without their collective intelligence to coordinate defenses, the once fearsome Draveri fleet became vulnerable. "All units engage according to plan," Zhang commanded. "Remember your assigned targets and maintain communications discipline." The battle that followed was unlike any in the war so far. The Alliance forces didn't attempt to destroy the Draveri fleet, an impossible task given their numbers. Instead, they focused on capturing key command vessels identified by Chen's research as the primary nodes in the Draveri neural network. 3 hours later, it was over. For the first time in the conflict, a Draveri fleet had been defeated without massive Alliance casualties. More importantly, they had captured intact Draveri vessels with their crews, an intelligence goldmine that would provide invaluable insights into their enemy. In the aftermath, Chen found himself summoned to the Alliance High Council, not to explain himself, but to be honored. The chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of species, all watching with newfound respect as the human scientist approached the central platform. "Dr. Nathan Chen," announced the council elder, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, "your understanding of the Draveri biological imperative has provided us with the first significant victory in this conflict. The Alliance acknowledges your contribution and requests your continued guidance." Chen looked out at the assembled representatives, then at Rodriguez and the other humans present. 6 months ago, humanity had been unknown to the galactic community. Now they were key players in a conflict that spanned hundreds of star systems. "I am honored," Chen replied, "but I cannot take full credit. This victory belongs to all of humanity's representatives here, who brought fresh perspectives to your struggle. Our species may be young among the stars, but we have something valuable to offer: adaptability, creativity, and a willingness to question established wisdom." Rodriguez stepped forward. "This is only the beginning. The Draveri will adapt to our tactics, just as we adapted to theirs. But now we know their fundamental nature, and we can continue to develop countermeasures." Ambassador Thelian moved to Chen's side. "When your ship intervened to save my vessel, I thought it merely a fortunate coincidence. Now I see it was something more. the first demonstration of the unique perspective your species brings to our alliance. Without human ingenuity, this war might have been lost. As the council session concluded, Admiral Zhang found Chen and Rodriguez in one of the observation lounges, looking out at the stars. "Enjoy the moment," Zhang advised them. "The war isn't over, but you've changed its course." "Do you think they'll listen to us more readily now?" Rodriguez asked. Zhang smiled. "They'd be fools not to. But old habits die hard. The Alliance has been doing things their way for millennia. Change is difficult. They need to change faster," Chen said, his expression growing serious. "The Draveri are already adapting to our tactics. I've detected subtle shifts in their communication patterns that suggest they're developing countermeasures to our disruption technology." Zhang nodded. "Then we'll develop new approaches. That's what humans do best. We adapt." He looked out at the stars, at the vast galactic community that humanity had suddenly found itself part of. "It's strange, isn't it? We always wondered if we were alone in the universe, and now humanity is helping decide the outcome of a galactic war." "What's strange," Rodriguez replied, "is that with all their advanced technology and thousands of years of history, they needed us to show them how to think differently." Chen smiled. "Perhaps that's humanity's greatest contribution to the Alliance, not our technology or our military strength, but our perspective. We see patterns they've overlooked, possibilities they've never considered." "To human ingenuity," Zhang said, raising his glass in a toast. "And to turning the tide," Chen and Rodriguez answered in unison. As they looked out at the stars, they knew the war was far from over. The Draveri would adapt, and humanity would need to adapt again in turn. But for the first time since the conflict began, there was hope. Hope born not from superior firepower or advanced technology, but from the uniquely human ability to see things differently and question the established order. The tide had turned, and humanity had played a pivotal role in changing everything.